This is not a sponsored video. I purchased this with my own money about 3 months ago when I purchased my router combo kit from Bosch. I like it. I think it's a buy. Don't be intimidated by the length of this video because I'm going to try to keep all the pertinent information front loaded so that way you can get what you want and get out of here. So let's go right into it. Let's get this table out of the way. I want to talk about what's included with this. And so you get assembled the router guide like this in the box, with one exception. I put the dust extraction hood on mine. I'm just going to leave it there. I like it. What else do you get? You also get this adapter. That goes into the dust extraction hood. This will allow you to attach to 35 millimeter, 1.25 inch, 1.5 hose ports. And that's useful. I recommend attaching that right away. We also get what's called the pivot plate. This is for circles and arches. It's used as the spot of pivot to allow the router guide to move around with the router. And the last thing we get is hardware to mount the router guide to the fixed base and actually this one is the fixed base bolts, and these are the Plunge router plate bolts. And so you'll need both of them and use them accordingly. There's another router base that they sell which has kind of a pistol handle, which I don't have. I don't know. It probably uses these is my guess. But could use these ones. Anyways, that's what's included. We have a couple special features on the box listed. It says easily converts into circle guide for making arches, circles up to 32 inches in diameter. And it is easy to transfer it back and forth. I've practiced this video a couple of times, so I'm very familiar with it. We got a precision fine adjustment control. Let's take a look at that. Okay, this right here, this bolt, is our precision fine adjustment control. We'll go ahead and loosen it. Let's see. You see, just turning this knob is pushing this guide away, bringing the router closer to the edge. So counterclockwise will bring our router bit closer to the edge of our work surface. And it's got these springs here that help give it tension. Once we lose tension, it stops moving. So these, once again, for operational use, are loose, and these are tight as the bolt pulls the threads right here. Now, precision is important because we need to be able to actually understand how far and how much we're moving it, and for that we have this knob down here, or this dial that's attached to the knob. And as you see, I'm moving this collar around, and I could zero this collar out. If you happen to measure out the distance of the bit to the face of the router guide, you'll understand where you are, and that can be your zero, and then turning it clockwise will send you further away from the edge, if I'm correct. Yes, further into the workpiece, so to speak. And a full turn is 5/64, or in metric it's 2 millimeters. Anyways, that is how that works. And we got one more special feature on the box, and that says guide cuts along the workpiece edge or up to 8 inches from the edge. Like I said, you can cut on that edge there nice and perfectly, or you can cut up to 8 inches inside the edge, which is nice for making a groove. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to do, I'm going to bring you in close and we're going to look at how to attach this to the fixed base and the plunge base. Okay, we have here our fixed base, and here's the router guide. We're going to slide it through the front where the viewing plate is, and all the way out through the back here. So we want these poles to extend, and we're going to use the round thumb screws, and you just screw them into the little holes right on top of where the steel rod goes through. And with both of them in there, it's nice and secure. I'm just going to put the one in there for time's sake. And then for the plunge router, we're going to go in from the side that's opposite of the adjustment knobs and that has the holes for the wing nuts, wing knobs. And the wing knobs will go right in there. Make sure that the steel rod is all the way out the other side, because it needs these 2 points of contact on each of them in order just to secure it well. Okay. And with the knob on and tight, it becomes very secure. Once again, there are 2 knobs. Make sure you use both of them. I think you get the point or the idea from just one. So I have my router set up and I have the hose attached. I have a 3/4 router bit. I'm going to make a 3/4 rabbet, 1/4 inch deep on this. I believe it's a 1/2 inch sheet of ply. But what I've done is I've put the bit right up to the edge so I can see that it's just touching, so it's perfectly 3/4 of an inch in, and I could observe that. And if I need to move it in, I can loosen the inner ones and then turn it, loosen it to bring it closer or further away. Sorry, I'm trying to think and do too much at the same time. Another important thing to make sure is you're using the proper safety equipment. I've got ear protection, eye protection, and dust protection. And I'm just using a shop vac here, which unfortunately doesn't filter the particulates very well. So it's going to be spewing some finer dust back into the air. Well, why don't we go ahead and just dive into the instruction manual to finish this off. Something important to talk about is the guide plates and their positioning. If you're going on a long straight piece, it's good to have them wide. It's going to give you more stability. If it's a smaller piece or an end, you want it closer together. Closer together also helps prevent chip out. Now if it's a convex curve, you'll want them on the furthest position. That's going to give you more stability because it's only going to be touching on the inside of these 2 points. So a wide open position like this on a convex curve give you some greater stability as it runs along the edge. And then I suppose if you're doing a concave curve, having them closer together might be more workable. Well, that is it for the main part of this video. That means everything you've seen up to here is more the pertinent information that your normal consumer might want to know about this product. But I understand that there are some people out there that might want a more in-depth look. I'm going to take it apart all the way down to bare bones and reassemble it with the different items on it, such as a dust extractor, so that way you can see it in work like that. Okay, I broke down the router guide into many different small parts. I've attached a few, but I'm going to attach one of everything at least. So we're going to take the edge guide right here and we're going to attach it to the router base here. And the way we do that is we'll take a bolt and washer and we'll drop it through the slot and we'll screw on the nut. Doesn't need to go very far. Now it's interchangeable as to which side the guide goes on, but as you see there's these slots right here, and that's for the nut to lock into. And so you'll drop it on like that and use a number 25 Torx or star to go ahead and screw it on like this. Now that's fine if you don't plan on using the dust extraction hood. However, I'm going to go ahead and put it on, and we're going to have to remove this bolt here. This other one could stay on, so I'm going to go ahead and just take it off. Let's see. So like that. Now this other bolt can go through, and we're going to see it actually pop up here. And now it's going to go into the dust extraction hood. We need to get a close-up. I have the two edge guides on. These inside bolts are being held in by my fingers there. In order to secure them properly, I need to put these nuts in the dust extraction hood. Okay. I'm going to take this and drop it in like that. I can screw them in that. Like I said, this is the way I would recommend doing it, putting the dust extraction hood on. It's going to help you a lot with the dust and debris. The next thing we can do is we can start threading our thumb screws. I'm going to use this outside screw hole. I'm not sure what the inside screw holes are for. Go ahead and get them in there a bit. And then the same thing with this smaller metal guide. Take one of your wing screws, wing bolt. So many names for different things. And there's probably only one right name in this case. Okay, now that we got those in, we can thread our steel rod and secure it with the wing bolt on the bracket. With that in, we can put our springs on, and finally we could assemble this part. Now you can go on either direction it looks like, but really only one direction. This little pyramid with the hole in it needs to be facing inward. So we'll slide that to there. And now our adjustment knob will go in like this. And it's going to have to thread into this metal piece over here, so give it a couple turns. You shouldn't turn this with the wing bolts tightened. So you go ahead and loosen them, and let's get a little bit of tension on these springs, and that's where I like to leave it. The tension helps with the adjustment to make sure that it's snug. And now we've got it set up. The next thing to do is to attach it to a router base. Right here we got our fixed router base. And for this one, you're going to want to come in through the front where the viewing window is with the plastic plate. And we're going to use the thumb bolts in these back holes just above the rod. They don't give you much space here to work with, especially if you're trying to do it on camera. You could also use a slotted screwdriver to turn it in from on top there. And there we have it put together. And yeah, adjusting it is as easy as going to keep these back ones secure, and you'll move it forward to kind of your 0 depth with these front ones and push it up to your piece. Let's see, slide it up to where you want it to guide to, and then lock these back in place, make sure they're nice and secure. And if you want to move it forward, first make sure you have snugness on the adjustment knob, and then crack open these closer thumb screws or wing nuts screws, and then turn in a clockwise manner, and it'll bring the guide further out, which will bring your router bit closer in to your work surface. So that's how you creep in. And you can guide it along like such, or on the other side like that. Okay, let's go ahead and attach it to the plunge router. I like the plunge router base better, but you know, to each his own. So here I got the plunge router, and for this one we are going to insert it this way. So we're going to use the wing screws, wing bolts. I'm going to put them in right here on the close side, and you want to make sure that the rod goes all the way through, so it's secured in 2 different spaces, right here and there. I don't know why the illustrations show it being secured with the bolts on the close side. when on the fixed base they did it secure on the far side. And then the second one right here. And there we have it secured to our plunge router. You can slide it along an edge and it works well. And then we got our dust extraction extender, of course, that we'll need to put on with our hose. The next thing we're going to do is change this into the circle cutting jig. So go ahead and loosen the nuts, the bolts, so that way we can detach our router guide, and we're going to remove most of it. Start by removing our fine adjustment knob, which we will not need. Tightening those wing bolts and sliding this guide off, which we will not need. And the springs, we could take those off. Loosen those bolts and slide this contraption down to the other end, and you give it a little tightening. Okay, and this is basically the setup for the circle cutting. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece and tape it securely to our work surface in the center, and use this hole on the pyramid or the triangle side and put that on top of it, and that's our pivot point for going around in a circle. So you could attach these bars just the same way they were attached in both previous examples. And there, we're all set up to cut circles and arches. Gone ahead and changed the router guide back to the edge guiding method or setup. And we're going to look at the edge guides now, because we got two positions and obviously any infinite in between, but open and closed. Right now we have it as a partially closed, I would say. But we can adjust this so that way they're open or they're closed completely, and the benefits of that. So let's go ahead and change these to the two setups. So we can go ahead and loosen all of our bolts here. And then we could slide it inward like this to the closed position, or our open in the outermost position here. Now the outermost position is really good for setting it on a convex curve, so we have a nice wide and stable base, and we can run that along with our router set. And on the innermost is really good for short work pieces that need a lot of support. You can have it slightly opened if you need to fit the router bit between there. This also will help tear out, and it's good at the end of a work piece. So if you're doing a long work piece, have it out here, but if you're going to touch up the end, move them in like that. There we go. They're set up in the outermost position, which is the most stable. If we get these in, this is the most support for a short piece, the ends, and a little opening might help prevent tear out. Make sure your router bit never comes in contact with the guides.
How many more?
You, Marshall.
Bruce just
Can
swiped the
I just
floor.
get frosting? Can I just get frosting?
No.
Just the top lid.
Here, James.
Cut off
I don't know if you want.